Hey guys, it's been about 3 months here since we've started the Chilean Cab Sauv, and I'm relatively confident that it's completed malolactic fermentation. It's really got no real bubbles going on. Even if I give it a little swirl, it doesn't really bubble anymore. So we're pretty much then ready to move on to the next steps here. And before I get too carried away, I want to do any testing that you want to do or any sensory evaluations. So you'll just kind of start out by taking the airlock off your carboy, and I like to just give it a smell and just make sure everything smells good. And in this case it does. I've done this about once every couple weeks just to make sure everything's been on track. And don't expect it to smell like a finished wine at this point. Just don't, you just don't want any offensive smells at this point. So it could be a little bit hot, a little bit high in alcohol smelling, but you don't want anything like a rotten egg smell. Would be really bad at this point. So I'm going to take a sample and I'll just give it a little taste. And the tests that I'm going to run on this are, I'm just going to check the specific gravity one more time. I'm going to check the pH. I'm going to measure the free SO2. And I could actually verify for sure that it's gone through malolactic fermentation by doing paper chromatography. But it's kind of expensive for just doing one single test for a 6-gallon batch. So I'm going to hold off on that test. But all these tests you can find on my YouTube channel if you dig around a little bit. One thing that's really important at this stage is just make sure that all of your equipment is really clean. Because now is the time, there's not really any CO2 protecting the wine. There's really not any yeast to compete against any bad bacteria. So just make sure it's all really clean. I like to use Star San for that. Yeah, so it tastes as expected, actually tastes great. The tannins are a little bit harsh right now, which is exactly what you'd expect. And the alcohol still comes on a little bit strong, which again is exactly what you expect, but hidden behind those you still get a little bit of fruit. And I mean, I think it's on track to be really a great wine, but I'm just going to go ahead and run those tests and then I'll update you with my numbers here. I just ran all my numbers. My pH is about 3.59, which is a pretty good place to be for the cab. I'm looking for about 3.6 to 3.7 ultimately, so I'm not going to make any adjustments there. My specific gravity is 0.994, which is about negative 1.5 Brix, which you can consider to be fully dry, which again is a good thing. And I measured my free SO2, which was about 8 parts per million, which is really low, but as expected because we put this wine through malolactic fermentation and I really didn't want a lot of sulfite at that time, so I was relying on the tannins to protect the wine. So that was one thing we did want to add some of some potassium metabisulfite. So at a pH of 3.6, I want to be around 50 parts per million free SO2, and that's something you can find on a table. If you look at my measuring sulfites video, I'll explain all that stuff. And to achieve 50 parts per million in 6 gallons of wine, I had to add about 2 grams of potassium metabisulfite, which is 1 teaspoon. And if you don't test that, which I'm assuming most of you probably won't, realistically just add a 1/4 teaspoon of potassium metabisulfite when you rack, and that should get you really in a pretty good spot. So we're just going to go ahead and let this fill up here into my new carboy, which I've just sanitized with Star San. And once it fills up, we'll top it up. You can see as it's filling, it's kind of splashing a little bit right now. And for this particular racking, I don't actually mind it to splash a little bit just to outgas anything that any malolactic type smells and things. So I don't mind if it splashes, but in future rackings, I'll try to minimize the splashing. And then the last thing we want to do is just make sure that you top your carboy up to the neck so you don't have a lot of surface area for air to get in there. And what I'm going to use is what's left of my press run juice or wine. And if you don't have any wine left over from pressing, you can use like a store-bought wine that's the same kind or similar, or what's even better is a nice box wine, like a Boda box or something, where you can just have it laying around and top up without having to worry about now having airspace in the bottle. All right, we're topped up. I'm just gonna go ahead and sanitize my airlock one more time, put the airlock on. I'll drain my remaining oak chips through a screen and clean my second carboy, and really that's it for a long time. So you're just gonna let this wine sit for about realistically 4 to 8 more months, and come back to it and see how it tastes. And if you need to make any adjustments, if you want any more oak, if you want a little bit less acid, a little bit more acid, you can make a couple really fine tuning adjustments then, but you're really at the kind of the slow point now. So hopefully this helps you out. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments section, and make sure you hit subscribe and hit the little bell next to the subscribe if you want to get notifications about new videos. Thanks for watching.